Just above the door we have the control panel, and on here we have a button that turns on the lights. This button needs to be on in order for most of the internal lights to work. From here we can also turn on the water pump. The water pump will make a little bit of noise when it's first switched on, but then it will quieten down afterwards. The water pump needs to be on for any of the taps or hot water or the toilet flush to work. We can test how much water is in the water tanks. Here we can see that the fresh water is almost empty and the wastewater tank is also almost empty. We can also test the batteries. Here we have 2 out of 3 on the leisure side, and the engine battery condition lights will work when the engine is switched on. If this light is red, it means there's not very much battery left, and if it is red and flashing, it means there's very little leisure battery power left in the system. From this control panel we can also switch on the outside light, but we do need the lights button to be on first before that will work. The lights button on the control panel also needs to be switched on in order for the 12-volt USB charging sockets on each of the sleeping sections to receive power. Once the lights button on the control panel is switched on, then the LED strip lights will work. One tap brings them on, tap and hold will fade them down, and another tap switches them off. When they're on, you can fade down and up with a tap and hold. There are strip lights on both sides of the vehicle, and there are also strip lights along the floor level by the door and by this tap here, and these are blue at floor level. These blue lights do not require the lights button on the control panel to work, so that you can come in and put some lighting on before you get up to the control panel. The control panel will also allow all the other internal lights to work, and they each have their own switch located somewhere on the light itself. We have a 25-metre electricity hookup cable with the extension for plugging into a normal mains supply. If you plug it into a friend's house, this is the one you'll need to attach to here, and then this goes in the van. If you're on a campsite, then it will just be one end into the van and one end into their hookup point. When using the electricity cable, either to power the vehicle or to charge the leisure battery, plug in to your socket in a normal home or your motorhome outlet, and it is essential that you unwind the entire cable and leave it draped somewhere out of the way. Unwind it from the reel, otherwise the cable could heat up on the electricity supply, and connect the cable into the 3 pins. Lift the cap and push. When the power cable is connected properly, the external power light will show on the control panel. There are 2 3-pin sockets which will only work when you're plugged into electricity. When you're not plugged into electricity, there are solar panels on the top of the van that will charge the leisure battery when it's sunny enough, but please bear in mind this may only last a couple of days in gloomy weather. So it's a good idea to connect to electric hookup at least once every couple of days for at least a few hours. The gas supply runs the heating, the hot water, the oven, the grill and the fridge. There are 2 bottles and they're connected one at a time via the rubber tube. To turn the gas on, rotate the gold dial anti-clockwise and turn the yellow dial in line. I have a system where I use a black clip on the gas bottle, and I put this on the driver's seat. The gas must be switched off before you travel, because if you were to have an accident, it's very important that there isn't gas running through the inside of the vehicle. So this reminds me that the gas is still on. When I come to leave the campsite, take the black clip off the driver's seat, put it back onto the can, turn the gas off so it's not in line anymore, and clockwise to close. The gas supply is now disconnected from the rest of the vehicle. When a gas bottle is empty, you will be able to tell because the gas appliances will stop working, and if you gave the bottle a bit of a shake, you will hear that there's no liquid gas left in the system. If that's the case, turn the dial so it's completely clockwise, and turn the yellow dial so that it's not in line, and then use the spanner in the compartment on the gold dial and screw the rubber pipe. And then you can replace this rubber pipe onto the new bottle after you've removed the plastic bung. When you're ready to put the new bottle in, attach the pipe and spin the gold dial left until it's fully tightened. Use the spanner to tighten everything up fully. When everything's tightened, use some of the leak spray, leak detector, just around that gold dial. And then when you turn the gas on, you should hear no fizzing and see no large bubbles. This ensures that you have a nice tight fit within this gold connector. When locking and unlocking this cupboard door, sometimes you need a bit of pressure just to ensure the catch is in the right place. If one of the bottles runs out of gas during your hire period, take the empty bottle to a flow gas supplier. It must be flow gas and not colour gas. Many petrol stations and campsites will offer this, and swap the empty bottle for a full one of the same size and colour. The swap should cost you about £24. If the van is returned with an empty can of gas, there will be a charge. Do not throw away individual canisters, otherwise you will not be able to swap the empty one for a full one. When using the hob or grille, make sure that you open the window above the unit and lift the glass lid to gain access to the hobs. Never use the hobs to heat the van. There is a heater for heating the insides of the van. Only use the hobs for cooking food and warming water. And when you've finished using it, make sure the hobs are off and completely cold before lowering the glass lid again. To light the hob, press the ignition switch, choose the desired ring, push and twist, and the ring should light. Keep in for a few more seconds after the ring is lit, and then you can adjust to the temperature you would like. To turn them off, simply twist to the off position. Please note, when you've just connected a new gas bottle and there's no gas in the system, it may take a few seconds for the hob to light for the first time. This is normal. And it's the same process for lighting the grille. Press the ignition switch, press the grille in and turn to flame. Keep the button in for a few seconds to make sure the flame stays alight. And just watch it for a couple more seconds to make sure that the flame stays on. There is no oven in this camper van. The fridge works best off the gas. This is in the off position. This is gas. It will click for a moment until it lights, and then the clicking stops, and that's now working. Or you can change it to 230 volt if you're on electric hookup, if you're currently plugged in, or 12 volt, which is only when the vehicle engine is running. The 12 volt helps to keep it cool, but it won't cool it. If you want to cool it, you're best off on the 230 or the gas. This dial adjusts the temperature of the fridge, and this locks the fridge. It's unlocked here. You can open and use fridge and small freezer compartment. And when you've finished using it, lock it again to make sure it doesn't fly open when you're on the move. The heating system works from the gas, so make sure that the gas is switched on in the outside cupboard. To turn the heating on, press down on the thermostat dial and turn it to about 5, and you should hear a clicking sound. Keep it pressed down. After 5 to 10 seconds, you should see the pilot light ignites through this little window. You do need to be at the right angle to see it. After 5 to 10 seconds, release, hear a little noise, and wait for a further 5 to 10 seconds to check that the safety orange light is staying on. You can control the temperature with the thermostat dial, 1 to 10. And you can control the fan with this dial here. Here we have fan is off in the middle, fan is automatic to A, and fan is manual to that side. When it's on manual, you can switch the dial to the number you want for how much speed from the fan you would like. If you are using automatic, then the fan will work out based on the temperature how much fan is sensible to be using. Heating is, the hot air is blown throughout the van and comes out of these yellow tubes all around the base of the van. So it does keep the van nice and toasty and warm. The water pump needs to be switched on for any of the taps or hot water or the toilet flush to work. The water pump is a little bit noisy for a few seconds. This is normal. It does quieten down after a few seconds. There is a cap halfway down the driver's side of the vehicle, and this allows fresh water to be filled up through that cap there. Just remove this section here, and you can fill that up with a hose or with the white water container. Only drinking water is to be used in this tank. The wastewater tank is built in underneath the van here, and this is where the water will come out when it's released, and you can use the black container. The black is for wastewater, to transport it to a drain. So remove the cap, position it underneath the hole, and then up here you will find a handle. If you pull the handle very slowly, and it will start to release the water, you can position it into the right place. Release the handle more, and it will empty all of the water into that black container. You can also put this black container upright with this one being open so that it's closer to the hole if the ground beneath it allows. Once that container is full, shut the water handle off and transport the water with this black container to a drain. You can check how full the freshwater tank is either by pressing the water tank's button. It shows it doesn't have much in it at all. Or under this seat here, lift up this cushion, and then the table, then the wood, and this is the freshwater tank. It takes up the whole of the space underneath that seat. Twist the cap, and you'll be able to see the water level in there. Make sure you do not overfill this freshwater tank, otherwise, as is clear, you'll end up flooding the inside of the van. When using the hot water, ensure that this window is shut, because there is a little sensor here that will prevent the hot water working if the window is open. And remove this cap here and just store this cap safely. That allows any fumes to escape from the hot water system. The hot water tank is located underneath the seat behind the driver's seat. The hot water tank is inside that cupboard there. It holds 10 litres of water, and that is automatically transferred from the freshwater tank, and the water is heated by the gas supply. This switch here switches the hot water on. In the current position it is off. If you switch it up, it will be switched to 50 degrees and down to 70. 70 is far too hot for most people's needs, so we recommend that you switch it just to 50. If you switch the water to 50 and see a little red light on this unit, that shows that there's been a problem igniting the hot water. That'll either be, there we go, that'll either be that the gas is switched off, which is how it currently is, or that the cap on the outside of the van has not been removed. If that happens and the gas is okay, check that the gas is definitely flowing through the system, turn it off, wait a few minutes and try again. If you want to use the hot water, make sure the water pump is on and run the hot water for a short while to make sure that there's water in the hot water system. Once you know there is water in the hot tank, click the switch to 50 to start warming the water up. If you'd like to have a shower, we recommend leaving the hot water on for at least 30 minutes to warm up enough water. To use the shower, unbutton the shower door, top and bottom. Pull the shower door across and meet up the shower door with the side and then pull it straight. If you try to pull it straight and then close it, it won't catch properly. So match them up first, then pull it straight. Do be aware that at the bottom of the shower there is a little bit of a gap, so if you're on a slight slope then the floor might get wet. We recommend using some form of towel or something just to make sure that you don't flood the bathroom when you're having a shower. Make sure that the door is popped back in after you've finished, so that when you drive off, the plastic door isn't moving about. When you've finished using the hot water, make sure you replace the cap securely. To use the toilet bowl rotates for comfort. Lift the lid, use the toilet, and when you're finished, press this flush button. Remember, this button will only work when the pump is switched on at the control panel. When you've finished, I recommend closing the lid to prevent splashbacks. And behind the toilet you'll find a grey handle. Pull that to you and that releases the waste down from this section into the waste below. Push the grey handle back again and it closes the cap to prevent odours coming from the waste below. The water for the flush is taken directly from the fresh water container in the van, so there's no need to fill up any flush water container. The toilet waste compartment is in this cupboard at the back. Press the button to release. This is the chemical that goes into the toilet. Pull the yellow handle up and you can slide the entire container out. Only ever empty the toilet at a chemical toilet waste disposal point because it does contain chemicals. Pull the handle out to the side and undo the yellow cap. Make sure you put this somewhere safe and don't tip it down the chemical waste disposal point. Then you can tip the whole unit up to let the waste drain out of the hole. If you press this yellow button while you're doing so, it will allow a little bit of air in so that the waste flows smoothly out of this cap rather than gushes and splashes. When you've emptied the tank, pop the cap back on and either here or in the toilet, fill the reservoir with 2 litres of fresh water and 100 ml of either green or blue toilet liquid to reduce odours and start to break down waste. Stored in the cupboard alongside the waste tank is some spare chemical and a little container that holds 100 ml, just so you don't need to measure it out each time. So 1 little bottle's worth of liquid into the tank. You can turn the yellow handle to open the catch. That much liquid in, 2 litres of fresh water, close it up, and it's ready to use again. Then slide the water container back into the compartment, making sure it's clicked with the yellow latch. Place the chemicals. I generally refill the little bottle and shut the door again. To make up the main double bed, move the seat cushions out of the way. Lift the table up slightly and press the button on the leg to move the leg into a right angle. If the table is horizontal, it shouldn't move. If you lift it up, you should be able to lift it up away from the ramp that it's on and place it down into the gap below. Bring out these side panels until they click. And then it's simply a case of rearranging the cushions to fill the gaps in the space. You will use, to make the full double bed, you will use cushions from elsewhere in the van. It makes quite a nice size double bed. The single sleeping area and the smaller dining area works in exactly the same way. Lower the table down into the gap below and rearrange the cushions to make a single bed. The cabin bed over the driver's area is surprisingly roomy. There is a ladder that slots simply into these 2 catches. There is a net to stop children falling out, with hooks that hook into rings on the ceiling, one in the middle and one on each side, and there is a curtain for privacy. You can remove the table completely by pressing the button at the top of the leg to remove the leg, and then the table can be stored flat elsewhere. Or you can use the table at any stage along that bar with the table leg, depending on who in your group needs the more leg room. The windows are kept secure with 4 latches. So if you want to open a window, undo all 4 and push until it clicks and it'll open a little bit. Push to the next click to open a bit more and a bit more, and then push it beyond that click to allow it to come all the way back and make sure the windows are fastened securely. There is a very slightly open version where you can just allow a little bit of a breeze to come through. Each of the windows has a flynet. You can come down and click into the bottom. Squeeze that to release it from the blind, or squeeze the 2 edges together to lift the blind up. And that has various positions that it can sit in, or to go all the way to the top and click into the section at the top. Be very careful of these materials. They can easily get caught up in the rollers and they will break if you're not careful with how you roll them up and down. By squeezing these 2 from the side, you release the whole mechanism from the side, and there are a number of points throughout each window where the blinds and the flynets can be half and half. If you release this while they're together, be aware that this blind will want to start rolling up already, whereas this section is kept into place with holes at the end. It's a good idea to support the blind as it's going up or down. The blind above the hob is slightly different. With 2 handles, and it just catches at the bottom for a fly net, or the front handle for the blind. There are 2 vents in the roof. These can be opened for airflow, but they must be closed when you're travelling. There are 2 types of button to open the cupboard doors. This is the push type, where you push it in and that will allow the cupboard to open. Close it and push it all the way in to lock. This stops the cupboard accidentally opening while you're on the move and the contents of the cupboard falling out. And the toilet and wardrobe, twist the handle, and that will allow the door to open and close and twist to lock in place. The pole to unwind the awning is kept in the outside cupboard. Insert it into the small hole to the left of the awning and use the 2 handles round and round to unwind the awning as much as you'd like. It comes out about twice this distance. To remove the pole, push it up slightly and rotate a little bit to release the catch from the inside of the awning casing. It can be a little tricky, so sometimes need a bit of a wiggle to get it in the right position. Underneath the edge of the awning, you'll find the legs. Move the little bit of plastic to the side and pull the leg off the catch. Allow it to drop down to the ground. Lift the leg to the height you'd like and use the little grey lever to lock it into place. Where possible, use tent pegs to secure the foot to the ground. To put the awning away, unclip the grey latch, slide the leg into itself again, twist it round and up and store it away inside the awning casing. If it is windy, there is a tie-down strap for the awning in this cupboard, and instructions for how to use are clear from the pictures on the box. If it is very windy, it's best to not use the awning at all. In the outside cupboard, open both compartments and then pull both handles up to lift the compartment door, and there's a little clip just here to hold it open. Inside we have levelling ramps, which you can use if you're on uneven ground, either forward and backwards or side to side. You can use one of those on each of 2 different wheels to make it more level. We have an umbrella, we have the white freshwater tank and the black wastewater tank. We have a 25-metre electricity hookup cable. We also have some tent pegs if you're using the awnings, an extendable hose and the bike rack cover. There are 3 window blinds to enable you to have privacy from the front windows. 2 smaller ones that go on the driver's and passenger door, and 1 larger one for the main windscreen. These attach using these grey sucker pads. There's a little handle each side. Simply position in the right place and push each of the little handles and it will hold onto the window. To remove, find the sucker pad behind and just get your fingernails to release the pressure that it's holding onto the window.